Welcome back. Okay, I have Sonia with me. I think you know Sonia, but if you don't know Sonia, I'm going to introduce you to her for our third half hour, and her English is not perfect, I'm sorry. Her English needs to improve, and I'm here to make her aware, consciente de esto, to make her aware of this, and we have a lot of work to do. So we're going to start with basic verbs, okay? All right, Sonia, welcome again.
Thank you.
How are you today?
Fine, thanks.
Okay, Sonia, is this my finger or yours?
It's George's finger.
It's your finger.
Mm-hmm.
How many fingers do I have?
You have 10 fingers? No.
Yeah, 10 fingers.
10 fingers, yeah.
Yeah, how many toes do I have?
You have 10 toes.
Do you have 10 toes too?
Yes, I do.
Do you paint your toenails every day?
No, only in summer.
Only in the summer. Ask me how often I paint my toenails.
Do you
How often?
How often do you paint?
Paint.
No, how often
How often?
paint?
Espera, escúchame.
Okay.
Do you, answer me yes or no. Do you paint your toenails?
Do you paint?
No, I'm asking you, yes or no. Do you paint your toenails?
Yes, I do.
Do you paint your toenails every day?
No, I don't.
How often do you paint your toenails?
I paint my toenails in summer.
In the summer.
In the summer.
In the summertime, okay, when the weather is fine. You remember the song?
Yeah.
No?
No.
In the summertime, when the weather is fine, you can reach
okay.
right up and touch the sky. In the summertime, you
Yeah.
got women, you remember that song?
Yeah.
Mungo Jerry. All right, do you like that song?
Yeah.
Okay, now, question. Do you paint your fingernails?
Yes, I do.
How often do you paint your fingernails?
I paint my fingernails three days per week.
3 days a week.
A week.
Ask me how often I paint my fingernails.
How often do you paint your fingernails?
Paint.
How often do you paint your fingernails?
I never paint my fingernails. Ask me how often I paint my toenails.
How often do you paint your toenails?
Never. Ask me how often I play the guitar.
How often do you play the guitar?
Every day. All right. Ask me how often I give this class on television.
How often do you give this class on television?
Every day. Okay. Ask me how often I have problems with my car.
How often do you have problems with
Problems.
with your car?
Hardly ever.
Perfect.
¿Qué he dicho?
Apenas nunca.
Apenas
Casi nunca.
Casi nunca.
Sí,
Hardly
casi
ever.
nunca, mejor.
Or apenas nunca, apenas. Ask me how often I use this book.
How often do you use this book?
What book?
That book, sorry.
Good. Ask me how often I use this book.
How often do you use that book?
I use this book once a week. Ask me how often I wear this shirt.
How often do you wear this shirt?
What shirt?
That shirt?
Lenin, that.
Yeah.
Ask me how often. Yo digo this porque lo toco y lo tengo aquí. Pero tú no.
Okay.
Tendrías que estirar la mano y dice this. Okay, ask me how often I wear this shirt.
How often do you wear that shirt?
I wear this shirt about twice a month.
Okay.
Twice a month. Ask me how often I go to the barber shop.
How often do you go to the barber shop?
Barber shop or the hairdresser. Hairdresser es más fino. Hairdresser.
Dresser.
Yeah, vestidor de pelo, literalmente. I go to the barber shop once every 2 months or once every 6 weeks. I don't know. Ask me how often I go to the doctor.
How often do you go to the doctor?
Hardly ever. Gracias a Dios. Thank God. Thank God. Ask me how often I see you.
How often do you see me?
I see you about once a month. Not very often. Ask me how often I call you on the phone.
How often do you call me on the phone?
On the phone.
On the phone?
Phone. I call you on the phone maybe once a month. All right. Ask me how often I take you out to dinner.
How often do you take me out to dinner? To dinner?
To dinner. I have never taken you out to dinner. All right. Ask me how often I go ice skating.
How often do you
go
skating?
Ice skating.
Ice skating.
Ice, sí, patinaje sobre hielo.
Ah, okay.
To go ice
skating.
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 Ice skating. About once every 10 years. I go ice skating. All right. Ask me how often I play baseball.
How often do you play baseball?
Now about once every 20 years. Ask me how often I play golf.
How often do you play golf?
About once every 5 years. I used to be a very good golfer, but I don't have time, and it's a frustrating sport, so I decided not to play. Okay, ask me how often I pick up this microphone in class.
How often do you pick up this microphone?
What microphone?
That microphone in this class?
Oh, in class.
In class?
I pick up this microphone about once every 3 classes. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
About once every 3 half-hour segments. Okay, ask me how often they fill this cup with water.
How often do they fill this cup?
What cup?
That cup.
¿Qué te pasa con decir
I
that?
don't know. I don't know.
Ask me how often they, the floor technicians, fill this cup with water.
How often do they fill that cup
With water?
Water.
At the beginning of every program. Okay?
Okay.
And ask me how often I use my magic wand.
How often do you use your magic wand?
I use this magic wand about once every 20 classes. It's only for very difficult students. Yeah.
For me.
No, you're difficult, but not difficult enough. Okay. Ask me how often I speak to my children.
How often do you speak with your children?
Prefiero speak to.
Speak to. Okay.
Está bien speak with, pero speak with is different. Ask me how often I speak to my children.
Okay. How often do you speak to your children?
Almost every day. Nearly almost every day. Ask me how often I travel abroad.
How often do you travel abroad?
I travel abroad every year, about once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ask me how often I go to Italy.
How often do you go to Italy?
About once every 3 or 4 years. Ask me how often I go to the States.
How often do you go to the States?
I go to the States once a year. Ask me how often I forget my material in class.
How often do you forget your materials in class?
My material? Never. I never forget my material in class. Ask me how often I turn this microphone upside down.
How often do you turn this microphone?
What microphone?
That microphone.
Vamos a empezar de nuevo hasta que.
Yeah.
Ask me how often I turn this microphone upside down.
How often do you turn that microphone upside down?
Upside down.
Down.
Okay, I turn this microphone upside down about once a month in class, okay? To teach upside down, all right? And ask me how often I speak, ask me how often I give the audience a sermon.
How often do you give the audience?
The audience.
The audience a sermon?
Sermon.
Sermon. Sermon?
Almost every day, los pobres. Me van a coger manía.
No.
Okay, you don't think so?
No.
No, ya me tachan de telepredicador. Right. Okay.
No.
Now, ask me how often I speak in public.
How often do you speak in public?
In front of big groups, maybe twice a year, not very often. Ask me how often I speak on the radio.
How often do you speak on the radio?
About 5 days a week, every day,
Wow.
during the working week. Ask me how many hours a week I spend on the radio.
How many hours do you spend?
Ask me how many hours a week I spend on the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many hours a week do you spend in the radio? On the radio.
Bueno, también in the radio. Si dices in the radio, es dentro de la emisora. On the radio means in antena. Do you understand?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
In this case, I
both
can
are
use.
correct.
Okay.
Both. I spend about 15 hours a week talking on the radio. Ask me if I enjoy it.
Do you enjoy? Do you enjoy it?
Enjoy it? La J es más J. Do you enjoy it?
Do you enjoy it?
Enjoy.
Enjoy it.
Yes, I do. Ask me if I prefer radio over television.
Do you prefer radio over television?
Yes, for one reason. Ask me what reason that is.
What is that reason?
I prefer radio over television because on television, my neck hurts.
Yeah.
I have problem in my neck, and on television I need to sit up straight.
Yeah.
Okay. Ask me if I use the same material on the radio as on TV.
Do you use the same material on the radio as on TV?
Yes, I use more or less the same material. Ask me how old I was when I started teaching.
How old were you when you started teaching?
I was 22. Yeah. Ask me if I knew my wife at that time.
Did you know your wife at that time?
No, I didn't. Ask me how old I was when I met my wife.
How old were you when you met your wife?
I was 24
Okay.
when I met her, or 23 y muchos. Okay. I was 20. No, I met my wife in I was 23 when I met my wife. Ask me how old I was when we got married.
How old was she?
No, ask me how old I was when we got married.
Okay. How old were you when you got married?
When you came?
Got married.
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 I was 26. Ask me how old she was.
How old was she?
She was 23. Okay. Ask me if we bought a house before we got married.
Did you buy a house?
Buy con B, must be.
Did you buy a house when you...
Before.
Before married?
Listen to me.
Okay.
Voy a conjugar un verbo en ambos lados de when. Okay. Ask me if we bought a house before we got married.
Okay. Did you buy your house?
A house.
A house before you got married?
Married, ¿qué es?
Married?
Married.
Married.
¿Cómo se dice mérito? Di mérito en español.
Mérito.
Quítalo.
Married.
Quítalo a mérito.
Married.
Good. Eso se acerca más.
Okay.
Siempre va a ser un acento español y no pasa nada, está muy bien. Entonces, pero te voy a traer hacia married.
Married.
Okay, ask me if we bought a house before we got married.
Did you buy a house before you got married?
No, we didn't. Ask me if we bought a house after we got married.
Did you buy a house after you got married?
No, we didn't. Ask me how many years later we bought a house.
How many years
Later.
later did you buy a house?
Well, we bought a house, let's see, 6 years later. Ask me where we lived in the meantime.
Where did you live in the middle time?
In the meantime.
In the meantime.
We rented an apartment.
Okay.
Okay, we rented an apartment. Okay, and that's normal. It's here now in Spain. It's not popular for married couples, but it gave me independence and freedom. I can rent an apartment and change if I want, no problem. Okay, because I was teaching English, sometimes in Getafe, sometimes in the north.
Yeah.
And I'll just move to a different house, so I don't have traffic problems. Do you understand? So it was comfortable to rent a house, and then finally I bought a house. Ask me how old I was when I bought a house, bought my first house.
How old were you when you you bought the first house?
Okay. How old was I? Let's see, I was 32 when I bought my first house. Okay, 32. Ask me how long I lived in that house.
How long did you live in that house?
I lived in that house for 15 years. Yes, for 15 years. Okay. Ask me if I still have that house.
Did you?
No,
do you still live in that house?
No, I don't live in that house anymore, but the question is different. Ask me if I still have that house.
Do you still have?
Do you still?
Do you still have that house?
Or that flat. Es un piso.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Yes. And ask me who lives there.
Who lives there?
Good. Repeat.
Who lives there?
Lips son labios.
Lives.
Eso. Who lives? ¿Quién labios allí?
Okay.
Who lives there?
Who lives There.
No.
Lips.
Lives.
Lips.
Mira, mis labios no se juntan. Lives.
Lips.
Mi labio inferior se junta a la parte de abajo de mis dientes frontales superiores. Toma. Lives.
Who lives?
There. My
There.
daughter does. My daughter does. Ask me if she pays me a rent.
That's,
Does she?
Does she pay you a rent?
No, she doesn't. Toma. Ask me if I think she should pay me a rent.
Can you repeat the question?
Ask me if I think she should pay me a rent.
Do you think
She.
she should pay you a rent?
Yes. Yeah. Well, when I came, I didn't have.
Yeah.
You know, nobody gave me a house.
Yeah.
Ask me how old I was when I came to Spain. Ask me how old I was when I came to Spain.
How old were you when you came to Spain?
When I came to Spain, after my studies, I was 22. Okay. Ask me how much money I had when I came.
How much money did you have when you came? Came.
I had $300.
$300?
Dollars. When I arrived in Spain, I had $300. Yeah. Ask me if I found a job immediately.
Did you find a job immediately?
After 1 month, I found a job. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
And so I was making enough money to pay a simple rent. Ask me where I lived.
Where did you live?
I live.
Where did you live?
I lived on Princesa Street in Madrid. Ask me how big my apartment was.
How
Big.
was your apartment?
Apartment.
Apartment.
La T se oye. It was probably 30 square meters. It was a studio apartment. Okay. Ask me how long I lived there.
How long did you live
There.
there?
I lived there for 2 years. Okay. Ask me if I liked it. Ask me if I liked it.
Did you like it?
Yes, I did. Studio. It's easy, very comfortable. All right. It's in Princesa.
Yeah.
It was in a good area. It was very near the Plaza España,
Perfect.
directly across the street from the Plaza de Cubos. It was very nice. Okay. And so, ask me if my wife saw that studio apartment.
Did your wife show
No.
see that apartment?
No, she didn't. She never saw it. I met my wife. When I met my wife, I was living in that apartment. But when I started going out with my wife, I was not. I wasn't living in that apartment. Okay. And ask me how many houses I have bought in my life.
How many houses did you buy?
Have you? Sigo vivo.
How many houses?
¿Cuántas casas compraste en tu vida o has
No.
comprado?
How many houses have you bought in your life?
In your life? Three houses. Okay.
Lucky man.
Lucky? No.
3 houses.
Well, I'm paying one now.
Okay.
The other I sold. I have 2. My daughter lives in one, and I have another, but I'm paying this one. Ask me how many years I have left.
How many years
Do you?
do you have
Left.
left?
On the mortgage, I have about 12 years left, I think, on the mortgage. Okay? And ask me, people are making noise here. Now, ask me how many cars I have bought in my life.
How many cars have you bought in your life?
1, 2, just a second, I'm counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8
including
cars.
the current one. Yeah, 8
Okay.
cars. I'm an old man, okay? Ask me how old I was when I bought my first car.
How old were you when you bought the first car?
I was 17 when I bought my first car.
Okay.
Ask me if it was expensive for me.
It was.
Was it?
Was it expensive for you?
Yes, it was. Ask me if I paid for all of it.
Did you pay for all of it?
All of it.
All of it?
Todo ello. No, I didn't. I paid 50%. I paid for 50% of the car. Ask me who paid the other 50%.
Who paid the other 15%.
50.
50%.
My father did.
Okay.
Okay. Ask me how I got the money for my 50%.
How did you...
Ask me how I got.
Okay.
¿Cómo conseguí? Ask me how I got the money for my 50%.
How did you get the money for your 15%?
15? No, 50.
50%.
I worked. Ask me how long I had to work to save enough money.
How long did you have to work for save that money?
To save.
To save that money.
I had to work 1.5 years. Yes, ask me where I worked.
Where did you work?
I worked in a supermarket first, and then I worked in a pizzeria.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Ask me how many days a week I worked.
How many days did you work?
How many days a week?
How many days a week do you work?
Did you
work?
I worked about 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I worked on 2 days during the week in the afternoon after school, and then on Saturday and Sunday. Okay. To save up enough money to buy to pay 50% of the car.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And ask me what kind of car I bought.
What kind of car did you buy?
I bought an Opel Kadett.
Opel Kadett.
A Cadet. Cadet, no, Cadet.
Bueno, okay.
Cadete.
Cadet.
No, cadete significa. Opel Cadete, Cadet. Ask me what year that was.
Ask you?
Ask me what year that was.
What year it was?
Was that?
Was that?
All right. What year was that? Repeat. What year was that?
What year
What
was
year?
that?
What year?
What year was that?
That was 1969, I believe. No, I was 16. I was 17. It was late 1968. 1969. All right. Ask me what happened to that car.
What happened with that car?
No.
What happened?
To that car. What happened to that car? No with. No se dice with con happen nunca.
Okay. What happened?
Ask me what happened to that car. What happened
to that car?
It was destroyed. Yeah. Ask me if I had an accident.
Oh. Did you have an accident?
Yes, I did. Ask me if the accident was my fault.
Was the accident your fault?
No, it wasn't. Ask me what happened.
What happened?
A man ran a traffic light in an intersection and hit my car on the passenger side and destroyed it. Ask me if there was a passenger in my car. Ask me if there was a passenger in my car.
Were there any passengers?
Lo has pluralizado. Estaba bien,
sorry.
estaba bien. Yo he dicho si había un pasajero, y tú has dicho había pasajeros.
Sorry.
Ask me if there was a passenger in my car.
Was there a passenger in your car?
No, there wasn't. ¿Cómo se dice gracias a Dios?
Thanks God.
No. No. Ask me how to say gracias a Dios in English.
How do you say gracias a Dios in English?
Thank God.
Thank God.
Thank God. Thank God. Como thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No se dice thanks you, no?
Yeah.
Thank you, thank God.
Thank God.
Because the passenger would have been injured or killed.
Mm-hmm.
It was a strong accident. Okay? Ask me if I bought another car after that.
Did you buy another car?
After that?
After that?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Ask me if I paid for it myself.
Did you pay for it yourself?
The same agreement with my father, plus the insurance money. Do you understand?
Yeah.
All right. And ask me what kind of car I bought.
What kind of car did you buy?
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 Estás hablando tejano. Dices, buy? Okay. Buy? I bought a Plymouth.
Plymouth.
Plymouth? Plymouth? No?
No.
It's the Chrysler, the Casa Chrysler. It was a Chrysler.
Okay.
Ask me what color it was.
What color it was?
Pregúntamelo.
What color was it?
Okay.
Sorry.
It was yellow. Lemon yellow. All right. Yeah, it's very, very strong, metallic, yellow.
I
Very
like
nice.
yellow.
It was very nice. All right, we have to go.
Okay.
Well, you have to go. I'm coming back, okay? You, no escapatoria todavía, eh? You have to come back. I'll be here in 5 minutes' time, so you have 5 minutes to go to the kitchen, to the refrigerator, to the restroom, but I need you back in 5 minutes, sin falta, okay? Thank you.